aspect of your.
And they actually think that the protests were just about some border crossing mandate.
For those who think the Great Reset is not going to control every aspect of your life, let me give you a couple of things. They are now taking the next step to shape global, regional, and industry agendas, end quote, with a new digital ID system. Under the framework, the WEF proposes collecting data from many aspects of people's everyday lives. That's a quote. Through their devices, telecommunication networks, and third-party service providers. The WEF suggests that this data collection dragnet would allow a digital ID. Now listen to this. It's very narrow. It would allow a digital ID to scoop up data on people's online behavior, purchase history, network usage, credit history, biometrics, names, national identity numbers, and medical history. Plus your travel history, social accounts, e-government accounts, bank accounts, energy uses, health stats, education, and I love this one, and more. What's left? Once the digital ID has access to this huge, highly personal set of data, the WEF proposes using it to decide whether users are allowed to, quote, own and use devices, quote, open bank accounts, quote, carry out online financial transactions, quote, conduct business transaction, quote, access insurance and treatment, book trips, still quoting, go through border control between countries or regions, still quoting, access third-party services that rely on social media logins, file taxes, vote, collect benefits, end quote. So, you know that passport that they gave you? It was so crazy to think that maybe that COVID passport might grow into something, exactly like this.
People are fighting against the bigger picture here. It has nothing to do with just a border mandate. That's not the issue.
The so-called Great Reset is not a conspiracy theory. It is an actual set of concrete proposals being advocated by some very influential people, and including apparently by Prime Minister Trudeau, who clearly alluded to it, referred to it, quoted from it, the Schwab theory, in a speech he gave to the United Nations a couple of months ago. So it's not a conspiracy theory to talk about that. Those are the folks advocating it.
I sometimes wonder if the government's not just covering up the WE scandal here with this endless filibuster, but they also don't want any scrutiny of this grand reset the Prime Minister is now talking about. This idea that he's going to renovate Canadian society to fit his Trudeaupian ambitions.
Governments aren't spending billions of dollars for a temporary passport system just for a few weeks. The bigger picture, of course, is getting the infrastructure in place for our new digital IDs and our new cashless society, and everything is going to be controlled. And this is tying into so many different things, including the push for EVs. Of course, it's under the guise of saving the environment, but we all know it has nothing to do with that. I warned several weeks ago about how EVs, which are slowly morphing into autonomous vehicles, are going to be used against us, and the government's going to take control of our freedom to even drive our own vehicles. Sure enough, right in Mr. Biden's infrastructure bill, there is a mandate. All new cars as of 2026 must have a backdoor kill switch installed, so the authorities can take control of your car at the flip of a switch. Boy, when I mentioned that this sort of thing was going to happen and governments would love this kind of control just a few weeks ago, did some of you call me a conspiracy theorist by any chance? You owe me an apology. In fact, most people who called anyone a conspiracy theorist for the last 2 years owes them an apology. Conspiracy theories are now spoiler alerts.
Canada is on the cusp of a revolutionary innovation that will transform the way Canadians authenticate themselves online and protect their identity. Digital ID, a fast, easy, and secure way to bank, sign up for government services, renew driver's licenses or health cards, shop, travel, and more. Canada's banks are perfectly situated to help lead the creation of a federated digital ID system between government and the private sector. The World Economic Forum agrees that banks and financial institutions should lead the path forward for digital ID. Banks are highly regulated and trusted. They have advanced cybersecurity and privacy technology, and they have the infrastructure to operate provincially and nationally. A federated digital ID approach can also significantly reduce fraud, save taxpayer money, improve regulatory compliance.
Ding, 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 ding.
Digital cash could be programmed to ensure it is only spent on essentials or goods which an employer or government deems to be sensible.
Holy shit.
Now, I'm going to take it one step further for you, Joe, right? So, the vaccine passport infrastructure is in place. Checkpoint Charlie exists everywhere. They bring in digital banking, central banking digital currencies. You've got a scenario now that you're checking in and out everywhere you go using vouchers that are programmed, and you can only spend where you're told you can spend them. There's another word for that, man. That's called the Chinese social credit system.
And it's all going to be rolled into the next crisis, the climate crisis. Oh, yes, all for the greater good, of course, right?
I am going to take the tools we developed during this pandemic crisis to apply them to the climate crisis.
So recently, the founder of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, aka the man behind the Great Reset, has stated that 2022 is the year of the Great Reset. Now, quite frankly, this is what they want: for stagflation to get everyone into debt, and for UBI to start getting more and more popular. And this creates a situation where the perceived ideal solution is for us to exchange our liberty and our freedom for security and elimination of debt. A situation where we will own nothing and we will be happy.
Pretty soon, if you're not a good little obedient citizen, all up to date with your 25 or maybe you attend a rally or a protest that they don't approve of, suddenly you're not going to be able to buy food, get on a plane, maybe you won't be able to start your autonomous car. Oh yeah, it's coming.